A claim surfaced online days ago, and it hasn't stopped spreading since. Princess Anne, the monarchy's most tight-lipped working royal, reportedly uncovered hidden bank accounts connected to Queen Camilla. No confirmation, no denial, and most strikingly, absolutely nothing from King Charles, who has said precisely nothing while the story has taken over royal media. That silence is exactly what stunned Britain, and by the end of this video, you'll understand why silence in this family can speak louder than any statement ever could. Let's separate fact from rumor immediately, because with a claim this serious, that distinction isn't optional. Confirmed. King Charles continues carrying out his constitutional duties while managing ongoing cancer treatment, which has naturally shifted more public attention onto other senior royals. Confirmed. Princess Anne remains one of the busiest working members of the monarchy, known for 5 decades of disciplined, low-drama public service. Reported, several online commentators claim Anne recently took part in private meetings involving governance and financial oversight, not verified anywhere, that she uncovered or exposed hidden accounts tied to Camilla. No documents, no named sources, no palace comment. So why has an unverified claim generated this much noise? Because of exactly one word: Anne. Here's what makes her involvement different from almost any other royal name attached to a rumor like this. Throughout more than 50 years of public life, Princess Anne has built a reputation for staying completely out of palace drama. She doesn't comment on internal affairs. She doesn't respond to speculation. Her entire public identity has been built on letting the work speak instead of the headlines, which means when her name gets pulled into a story this explosive, royal commentators treat it very differently than they would for almost anyone else in the family. That's the tension driving this whole story, and it's worth sitting with for a second before we go further. Constitutional historians make an important point here. Influence inside the royal family isn't always measured by titles or camera time. Often, it's measured by discretion, by who the sovereign actually trusts behind closed doors. By that standard, Anne occupies a position most royals never reach. She's less known for public statements and more for quiet, measured judgment in exactly the kind of private meetings this story claims she was part of. That reputation is precisely why this rumor found traction instead of dying within a day. Royal commentators note that Anne has reportedly been involved in ongoing discussions about the monarchy's long-term administration, estate management, charitable oversight, financial planning. None of that is unusual on its own. The royal household reviews governance regularly, the same way any major institution does. What's missing is any evidence connecting those routine meetings to the specific claim now circulating, that hidden accounts belonging to Camilla were uncovered and exposed. And here's where the psychology of this story gets genuinely interesting. When solid information is scarce, people don't wait for it. They start connecting whatever pieces they already have. A private meeting, an anonymous source, the involvement of a royal known for discretion rather than drama. Individually, none of that proves anything. Combined, it starts to feel like a story writing itself, even when the actual evidence hasn't moved an inch. Media analysts point out that this pattern has only intensified in the social media era, where speculation now travels faster than any fact check can catch up to it. There's also a structural reason this story landed at this exact moment. With Charles managing his treatment while still fulfilling constitutional duties, more responsibility has naturally shifted onto other senior royals. William stepping into a more prominent public role, Anne continuing one of the busiest schedules in the family. Most constitutional experts describe this as careful, gradual preparation rather than sudden change. Institutions built for continuity tend to distribute responsibility slowly, long before any single event forces their hand, which raises the real question behind all of this. If Anne's reported involvement is simply routine governance, why has public interest exploded the way it has? The answer may say less about hidden bank accounts and more about how differently the public now reads every private meeting inside the monarchy, a pattern that becomes even more revealing once you look at how Charles has responded, or more accurately, how he hasn't. Buckingham Palace has issued no statement, no confirmation, no denial, just silence. And that silence has become a story in its own right, with commentators split on what it actually means. Some see it as confidence, the palace trusting its own protocols enough not to dignify unverified claims with a response. Others see something less reassuring, a vacuum that lets speculation calcify into accepted narrative before any real facts arrive. Constitutional experts note this isn't a new strategy. Buckingham Palace has rarely responded to every rumor that surfaces in tabloids or online, for one straightforward reason: engaging with a claim gives it more visibility, not less. Supporters argue that protects the institution's credibility over time. Critics argue that prolonged silence, especially around something this specific, risks looking less like discipline and more like avoidance. Both readings are plausible. Neither one is confirmed. And that unresolved tension is exactly why this story hasn't faded. It's worth noting that this isn't the first time a royal family silence has been read two completely different ways by two completely different audiences. History is full of moments where the palace's decision to say nothing was later revealed to be exactly what it looked like: restraint, not concealment. It's also full of moments where the full picture, once it eventually emerged, was more complicated than either the silence or the speculation suggested at the time. Right now, there's no way to know which category this one falls into, and anyone claiming otherwise is guessing. There's a deeper pattern worth naming here too. People are naturally uncomfortable with uncertainty, so when official information runs dry, many fill the gap with whatever explanation already fits what they believe about this family. The facts haven't changed since this story broke. Public perception keeps shifting anyway, because an unanswered question can shape a narrative just as powerfully as a confirmed fact, sometimes more so. So where does that leave us right now? The evidence points one direction. Public imagination points somewhere else entirely. What's confirmed? Anne's decades-long reputation for discretion, and Charles's continued silence on the matter. What's reported? Her alleged involvement in private governance discussions. What's completely unconfirmed? Any actual discovery of hidden accounts, and any dramatic response from Charles behind palace walls. Headlines describing his reaction as explosive aren't backed by anything official. What's actually observable is a monarchy continuing its public schedule without visible disruption, which is a very different story than the one currently trending. Maybe that gap is the real lesson here. This was never really about proving or disproving one allegation. It's about how fast an unverified claim can become a global conversation about trust and leadership inside one of the world's oldest institutions, especially when the person accused of silence happens to be the king himself. Princess Anne's role in all this remains genuinely revealing, regardless of how the specific claim resolves. Decades of consistency, not publicity, are what earned her this level of presumed credibility in the first place. That's exactly why her name attached to a rumor carries more weight than it would for almost anyone else, and exactly why responsible analysis means separating that earned reputation from a claim that still has zero verified evidence behind it. History suggests this pattern will keep repeating as the monarchy manages its current transition. Every private meeting, every silence, every anonymous report gets read through the same lens. Succession, stability, who can be trusted to lead next? The institution can't control every headline that emerges from that scrutiny. What it can control is the consistency of its public service, and that consistency tends to outlast any single news cycle, however loud it gets in the moment. So here's what I want to know. Does Buckingham Palace's habit of staying silent protect public trust, or does it leave more room for stories like this one to take hold? And as Anne and William both take on greater responsibility, how much transparency should the public actually expect from an institution built on privacy? If you appreciate royal coverage that separates verified fact from viral speculation, subscribe, because this isn't the last time silence from the palace is going to say more than any statement could.